Okay, let's jump in. So here's a thought, maybe a bit unsettling, your phone. It could actually have more germs on it than a toilet seat.
It's pretty wild when you hear it put like that, isn't it?
Totally wild. And that's what we're digging into today, this whole habit, of using our phones in the bathroom. We've got a couple of interesting sources.
Right. One's an advisory from the Red Hill Jamia Mosque Al Mustafa, and then there's another piece talking about the dirty truth of it all.
Exactly. So our plan is to kind of unpack why this seemingly harmless habit might be, well, something to maybe reconsider. We'll hit the health side, but also some other angles too.
And it's fascinating, really, how you have this scientific viewpoint on bacteria and then a religious perspective on etiquette, and they both sort of point in a similar direction.
They really do, suggesting maybe, just maybe, leave the phone outside the bathroom door.
That seems to be the bottom line from both, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the germy part first, the stuff that makes you want to, wash your hands just thinking about it.
The science bit.
Yeah, the sources bring up some studies, and it's not just like a guess. They're saying phones can carry up to 10 times more bacteria than a toilet seat.
Which sounds unbelievable, but when you think about the environment,
Yeah.
it actually starts to make sense.
How so?
Well, bathrooms are humid, right? And everything's close together. You touch the faucet, the door handle, maybe flush the toilet.
Ah, the flushing thing. Doesn't that spray tiny particles like everywhere?
Exactly, the aerosol effect.
Yeah.
Little droplets containing whatever was in the bowl can travel surprisingly far and land on surfaces, including your phone if it's sitting there.
Okay, that's not a pleasant image. And we touch our phones constantly.
Constantly. And then how often do we actually, properly disinfect them?
Probably not enough. I mean, I wipe mine down sometimes, but disinfect, not really a routine.
Right. So these little microbes, bacteria, they just hang out and multiply. The sources mention some specific ones, too.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Things like E. coli, Staphylococcus aureus, even traces of fecal matter.
Seriously, E. coli. Wow.
Oh, yeah. And these aren't harmless hitchhikers. They can cause skin infections, stomach problems, if they get transferred.
And the transfer is easy, right? Touch phone, touch face, done.
Pretty much. It's
Yeah.
a direct route. Especially concerning, like the sources point out, during flu season or, anytime there's a heightened risk of infection spreading.
It really puts that phrase dirty truth from the mosque's advisory into perspective. It's not just about visible grime.
Not at all. It's about the unseen stuff that can actually affect your health. E. coli is a prime example. It comes directly from fecal matter, potentially causing digestive issues. It's quite direct.
Okay, so the germ factor is pretty compelling, but there was another angle, the psychological one.
Yes, this idea of losing valuable downtime, that really resonated.
What does that mean exactly? Downtime in the bathroom.
Well, think about it. In our always-on, hyper-connected world, where else do you get a few guaranteed moments completely alone, without interruption?
Huh. That's actually true. It's kind of a mini sanctuary sometimes.
Potentially, yes. A space for just quiet. Maybe a bit of reflection, or just zoning out without staring at a screen. But if the phone comes in...
Then that potential is just gone. You're scrolling, checking emails, whatever.
Right. You eliminate that little pocket of solitude. And that constant task switching, even just scrolling, it keeps your brain kind of engaged in a low-level way. It disrupts just being present.
So instead of relaxing, you're actually maybe adding to your stress. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, but one source suggests exactly that. Constant connectivity, even there, might mean increased stress and less mindfulness. No real break.
Has there been research on this, like specifically the bathroom phone use and mental well-being?
There's definitely research showing that constant digital interruptions, or even just expecting them, keeps our brains in a state of alertness. It hinders deep relaxation. So consistently using those potential quiet moments for phone time could train our brains away from being able to properly switch off. It chips away at restorative moments.
Makes sense. Which brings us to the perspective from the Red Hill Mosque. It's a different lens, but arrives somewhere similar.
Absolutely. They talk about Sharia etiquettes for lavatories, specific ways of conducting oneself.
Like what, for instance?
Well, the advisory mentions entering with the left foot, for one, and reciting a specific supplication, a prayer. It translates to something like, I seek refuge with Allah from the wicked and noxious things.
Okay. And the thinking behind that is?
Within that tradition, toilets are seen as places where negative spiritual influences called shayateen might dwell. So these etiquettes are about seeking protection, sort of creating a mindful, protected space even there.
So it's about spiritual well-being in that specific context.
Precisely. And it extends to activities within the lavatory.
Right. You mentioned they advise against certain things.
Yes. Things like speaking unnecessarily, listening to music, or reading, and they specifically include novels, newspapers, and, crucially for our discussion, mobile phones.
Well, unless it's really necessary, they say.
Right. The idea is to focus on the task at hand, relieving oneself quickly, and maintaining that state of guardedness or mindfulness rather than getting distracted.
Yeah.
Reading, scrolling, it leads to unmindfulness in that context.
So pulling it together, their conclusion is that using a phone in the toilet is highly improper. Not just unclean, but improper from a spiritual etiquette standpoint.
Exactly. It's a different rationale, spiritual vulnerability versus germ transmission or mental downtime. But the recommended action ends up being the same. Keep the phone out.
It's really interesting how different belief systems or fields of knowledge can sometimes converge on similar practical advice. Does science see any, side benefits to these kinds of focused practices, even if they don't use the same language?
Well, science wouldn't talk about shaiteen, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but the emphasis on minimizing distractions and focusing attention, that could certainly be seen as reducing mental load and promoting a state of calm or presence, which does align loosely with the psychological benefits of, not being constantly stimulated by your phone.
So different paths, same destination in a
Yeah.
way.
In a way, yes. It highlights how different frameworks can lead to surprisingly similar behavioral suggestions.
It really is quite striking. You've got the microbiology angle screaming germs and potential illness. You've got the psychological angle talking about lost quiet time and maybe more stress. And then the religious perspective focusing on etiquette and spiritual well-being.
And all three effectively say, maybe rethink bringing that phone into the bathroom.
It definitely makes you think twice, doesn't it?
It does. Whether you lean more towards the scientific data or resonate with the traditional wisdom or maybe see value in both, there are solid reasons presented to reconsider the habit. The germ risk is tangible, and the loss of potential mental quiet time is also very real for many people today.
Okay, so if someone listening is thinking, all right, maybe I should try to stop this, what practical steps do the sources suggest? How do you break the habit?
Well, the most obvious one is setting a clear boundary. Just physically leave the phone outside the bathroom. Every time.
Sounds simple, but habits are hard to break, like that automatic reach for the phone.
Totally. So maybe making it a conscious rule helps. Another practical tip is cleaning your phone regularly. Even if you stop taking it into the bathroom, phones just get grubby from everyday use. A disinfectant wipe now and then is a good idea, regardless.
Good point. What else?
Practicing mindfulness during that bathroom time. Instead of scrolling, maybe just take a few deep breaths. Notice your surroundings. Just be present for those few minutes.
Trading scrolling time for breathing time. Okay.
And finally, if the issue is needing something to occupy your mind, maybe replace the phone habit with something else. Like keep a specific book or a magazine in the bathroom. Something that lives there.
Ah, the dedicated bathroom read, a classic.
Exactly. Something low-tech that doesn't travel everywhere with you.
Okay, makes sense.
Hmm.
So just to quickly wrap up the main takeaways from this deep dive, it seems pretty clear there's a strong case against the phone in the bathroom habit.
Yeah, definitely. You've got the high germ contamination issue, which is frankly a bit gross and carries real health risks.
Then there's the psychological cost, losing those rare moments of potential peace and quiet, maybe even adding to stress instead of relieving it.
And the religious perspective adds another layer, emphasizing mindful conduct and spiritual considerations within that specific space.
It really is the convergence of these different lines of reasoning that's quite powerful. Both the science and the tradition seem to agree on the practical outcome.
Right. The core message is that this common habit might have more downsides, both tangible and perhaps less tangible than we usually consider.
So it leaves us with something to think about. Here's maybe the final question for everyone listening. Considering all this, the germs, the lost quiet, the different views on the space itself, what's maybe one small change you could make regarding your phone and your bathroom routine? Something to mull over.